I usually film a little more put together intros to reading vlogs, but the last time I did a reading vlog, I didn't do that and I kind of like the way it turned out. So that's just what we're gonna do again. You're now in the vlog. I've been having not the best reading time lately, and so I was very glad when I put a poll up to ask for video ideas that the one that ended up winning was what you are seeing right now, which is me reading my highest rated mystery thriller books off of my TBR. Because if I'm reading the highest rated mystery thrillers on my TBR, like, they should be good. I should be having a good time with them. And so that's what we're gonna be doing today. First one that I'm starting with is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. This is actually the tip-top, very highest rated mystery thriller on my TBR. It would probably make more sense if I'm reading 3 books that are the highest rated to read the third highest, second highest, and first highest, so I can kind of save the best for last, but I wanted to read this one right now. So this is the order that we're going in. And I have only heard amazing things about this book, so I will say my expectations are pretty high, knowing that it is the highest rated on my TBR and that I've heard amazing things. But I also do know in the back of my mind that the reason it's probably the highest rated is because this was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, and those tend to get a mass audience reading them and they end up getting a really high average rating. So I am keeping that in the noggin as I am reading this book. But so far I am enjoying it. I started it last night and I got about 100 pages into it, and all I knew about it was the very general concept of it, that it's about a woman who witnesses her son murder someone, and then the next day she wakes up and it's the day before. And she's very confused of what's happening, and I wasn't sure if she was going to keep reliving the same day or if she was going to continuously go back in time. And it turns out she's continuously going back in time. Every day she wakes up the day prior, she keeps going back in time, and she doesn't really understand the mechanics of why that's happening, but she has a suspicion, and I have a suspicion as a reader, that it's because she is going back in time until she finds the inception point of what led to the chain of events that caused her son to murder someone, so that she can put a stop to it. Immediately, you're obviously having to suspend your disbelief because this is a science fiction-y type of story, because there is this backwards time travel element to it. And I will say I'm very curious to see how that plays out in the story and how deeply it gets explained, and if I find like plot holes in it and like how deeply I should be thinking about it, because I already feel like I'm questioning things. Like if she does something the day before, I'm like, wait, wouldn't that have already implicitly had an impact? But maybe it will. Maybe there will be like a really cool way that it's explained. I don't really know, but I'm trying not to think about it too much because honestly it just kind of confuses me if I think about it for too long. But so far I think it is a cool story setup. I see why people are really interested in the story. The only issue I'm personally having at this point is I don't feel really attached to the main character, this mother, because it feels like it's just so plot driven that we're not getting a lot of her character. She feels very replaceable to me. I don't know many characteristics about her. I feel like she could kind of be anyone, and I like to be really close to my character, so I'm hoping we get more of her character as we're understanding more of her story. But so far it's so concerned with the plot of it, of like setting you up with understanding where you are, since you keep going back in time, that it's not giving as much time to her character development, which I really hope we get some more of that. So all in all, I would say I'm like cautiously optimistic about it right now. I feel like it's definitely a good story. I'm trying to not get my hopes up too much for this like mind-bending crazy twist, because it could turn out to not be that type of book. Like it could just be a more casual mystery. I'm not really sure. Oh, and you're also getting another character's perspective in here a little bit, at least you have so far, who is a detective, and I have no idea what the significance of that is at this point. I thought I had a theory, but it immediately got crushed, and so I'm not sure how that's going to factor into the story. But it is a very quick read, and so I'm hoping to read as much of this as I can today, because it'd be great to just fly through it. So I'm gonna keep reading, and I'll check in with you when I'm like somewhere between halfway to 2/3 through the story. Okay, now things are getting interesting. I'm about halfway through the book, and I've had a couple like, oh, kind of moments with it, and I'm getting a lot more into the story. I still feel like you don't really get to know a lot about the wife as the main character, but the plot is getting interesting enough that I'm not caring about that as much anymore. I feel like in the first 100 pages, it was just kind of slow getting you comfortable with how the story works, that it doesn't feel like as much was happening. But the next 100 pages, which I'm currently at page about 200, get a lot more interesting and start adding some complexities to the story. You know who characters are now, so you don't have to like live in this confusion that she is in of who all these people are. Like, you're starting to learn some information, you're starting to gather some suspects, and it is getting juicy. I did have a suspicion of who I thought had to be involved in some way just because of the setup of their character, and I was right about that so far, but I do think we're gonna get another twisteroo with it. Like, I don't think it's gonna be as straightforward as it seems, but wow. I just really like where the story's going. It is getting interesting, and it is so cool to be reading the story backwards and to be going back in time getting more information, but you almost at the same time have less information because you're going backwards and those things haven't happened yet. And so you're like, wait, has this happened yet? Or has it not? Who is this person? When did they come in? Where did they come from? How is this person connected to this? Does this person know this amount of information at this time, or do they know less because we're going farther back in time? And it's honestly a little bit confusing, but it's a good kind of confusing where you don't have to stress out about not knowing every piece. Like, you can kind of just sit back and let this book take you for a ride. So I'm having a much better time with it now. I'm feeling better. I was a little nervous in the first clip. If you couldn't tell, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna love this. Like, I'm not super into it. And now I'm like, okay, the pages are flying. I'm having a good time. So that's it for my midway update. I'm gonna go finish the book and then I will let you know what my final thoughts. All right, so I just finished Wrong Place, Wrong Time, and this book took me on quite the adventure. My feelings about it changed very often throughout the experience reading it, and I think for my rating and how I felt about the book overall, this feels exactly like the idea in my mind of what a 3.5 star book is to me, which is unfortunate because this was the very highest rated mystery thriller book on my TBR, and we're not off to a great start. So maybe it's good that I read this first instead of saving it for last, because hopefully we can go up from here a bit. I mean, a 3.5 is not bad. I did enjoy this book. I thought it was a good book. I thought it had an interesting story to tell. I thought it had an interesting plot device with the fact that the whole story is told backwards, and that is very impressive, and it's just an impressive book. Like, it's impressive that the author was able to pull the story off, was able to pull off the twists. There are some things I saw coming, but almost like at the right time. I don't feel like I saw things coming too early. But overall, the reasons the book wasn't amazing for me, a lot of that has to do with the pacing of it. It feels quite long. It feels like there are things we could have cut out or trimmed or gotten to faster. There's just a really long stretch, especially in the beginning there's a long stretch, and then in the middle there's a long stretch. So like, it'll just feel kind of slow for a while, and then it'll speed up and get interesting, and then it'll feel slow again. And then the ending, the very ending, felt very, very quick to me. It felt like things wrapped up like immediately. So there just wasn't that perfect flow that I'm looking for in a mystery thriller for me with this. It was still good. 3.5 is still a good rating, but it just wasn't amazing for me because of those things. And like I said, I wanted to feel more attached to our main character and to understand her more and to know more about her. You definitely do learn more about her throughout the book, but it's just not a character based story as much as it is a plot based story. You get to know a lot about the other characters in her life, but you don't really know a lot about her. She's not super reflective or introspective. She's more just like examining what's going on around her, not looking inwards a lot, which is fine, but I just personally like to get to know my main character a little bit better than that. This makes perfect sense though, being a highly rated Reese Witherspoon book club pick. Like, this is exactly what Reese Witherspoon book club picks feel like. This is a crowd pleaser. This is a great read for people who don't often read dark mystery thrillers and they want something that is a little bit more accessible and like, I don't know, just like lighter to read and has like a feel-good message to it. This very much has like a Hallmark feel to it at the end, and it's just the perfect fit for the Reese Witherspoon book club pick, so I can see why it was such a successful option for that. And if it's anything like other book club picks that we get from Reese Witherspoon's book club, we may see this as a movie one day, and I would watch it. I wouldn't be mad about it. So all in all, I thought it was a good time. I thought it was a cleverly written book. It just personally for me wasn't a new all-time favorite or anything. Just a 3.5 for now. Hopefully things can go up from here. Next, I'm going to be picking up the book Hostage by Claire McIntosh. That just perfectly describes my mood lately. First impressions of Hostage. I am 80 pages into the story, just up to chapter 10. I will say, I'm getting a little concerned about the concept of the video meeting my expectations. I really was hoping to get a 5-star out of this video, and I still might. You know, we're just in the beginning of the second book. It still could result in a 5-star, whether in this book or the next. But at this point, I just don't feel like this one is going to be a 5-star for me. I always struggle when you set that goal, when you're like, I really want to find a 5-star, it makes it so much harder to find 5-star. So maybe I should abandon that thought altogether. The book's going fine. This is my second book I've read from Claire Mackintosh. I read The Last Party in January. That was the first book that I chose as a book club pick for my channel members when I first kicked off my book club this year. And I thought it was good. It was a 3.5-ish, I think, for me. Like, I enjoyed it. I liked talking about it. It was good. This one sounded even more interesting to me because this one sounded more like the kind of high-stakes, fast-paced survival type thrillers that I enjoy. Because from what I knew of this book, the concept of it is that there is this plane, there's a woman on a plane, and she receives a note that her child is being threatened. If she doesn't do something, she has to follow the instructions to save her daughter's life. And so it's like, with hundreds of lives in your hands, could you sacrifice the one you love most? So I guess it's going to be either her daughter or the people on the plane. It sounded really intense, really fun. It is being introduced with a slow build into the story so far, and so I'm hoping things start to feel more intense because it seems like the whole book's going to be taking place within 20 hours because what's going on is you've got this woman and she's going on this 20-hour flight. She's a flight attendant, and this is a monumental flight, that it's a direct flight from Sydney to London for 20 hours, and it's this big press ordeal, and she is specifically organized to get on the flight, to be able to work on it, and she has a daughter and a husband, although they're currently kind of separated right now because she caught him cheating on her with their au pair, and so the au pair's not in the house anymore. They kind of split custody of the child. The child is also adopted, which comes up a lot. And now she's on this plane and the daughter is being watched by the husband and a new nanny slash babysitter back at home. I'm 81 pages in and we're just starting to get to the synopsis point of getting a note that would explain what's going on, why her daughter's life is at stake. That hasn't happened yet, but you are starting to like hint into that a little bit. And what I also did not expect in this book was to get so many different perspectives, because you also get the husband's perspective, which I feel like is an interesting choice, and I'm curious how that will come into play. And then you also get brief little inserts from different passengers on the plane, and they're really short little things written in italics, random little things about their lives and what brought them onto this monumental flight. So far, everything's fine, but I'm just not obsessed with it, and I wanted to be obsessed with it. It sounded like something I could be obsessed with. So I hope once things start picking up and it gets more intense and that survival element is more in the meat of the story, I'm hoping that helps me be more reeled into it, because I love survival thrillers. Like, those just really are my jam. And so I'm really hoping this picks up a bit once we get into that middle portion, and I'm curious to see how all the different POVs come into play. But that is my initial impressions. We're cautiously optimistic, hoping things improve. Update. I'm at page 115 and I am DNFing this book. I had to talk myself into it. I really had to hype myself up. I've been reading it and I've not really been enjoying it. It's really, really slow, and I'm like, where's the action? Where's the suspense? What's happening? This should have been a really exciting book, and there's just so many other things going on. And I was reading and I was like, let me do some chores. Let me like do some dishes. And then I came back to the book and I opened it, and the part that I was at was another one of those passenger perspectives, and I just went, ugh. And I was like, you know what? If I'm feeling like that, then I don't care if this is for a video, and I don't care if it's for a video of the highest rated mystery thrillers on my TBR. Like, I'm not gonna read it. I'm not having a good time with it. I'm not gonna read it. I'm DNFing it. I go through periods of like being more comfortable DNFing books and not, and I have not been DNFing books much lately, except for last month, I guess I kind of did, but not that I was telling you about. I haven't been DNFing books and videos much lately. And I just gave myself a whole speech about how at the end of my life, the only person I'm gonna have is myself. And so I don't care about anyone's opinion. If you're upset that I DNF'd it, it doesn't matter. I have to make choices for me. And I can't read this book anymore. It's just not fun. And I want reading to be fun, so I'm DNFing. Very disappointing. I also just went to look at my Goodreads to see different reviews of this, because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so highly rated. Like, what are the reviews? First of all, the average rating is like a 3.9, which is high, but not, you know, it's not not in the 4s. And then all the reviews I saw from people that I am friends with on Goodreads were bad. They were 3 stars or 2 stars. They were saying it was slow in the beginning, slow in the end, just slow, not surprising. Also thought it was boring. I saw someone say they're done with this author. Like, I didn't even see good reviews from people that I know. So I'm not really sure how this ended up with such a high average rating, but it is just not for me, and I just don't care. I mean, I do care, like I want to know what happens, but also I'm okay not knowing, because the first little reveal came into the story. There's been some suspicious stuff going on with the husband. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's been like some suspicious stuff going on with the husband, and the first reveal came where you learn what's going on with him, and I'm like, that is so boring. Like, that is the most boring explanation for what could have been going on. So this one was not for me. So upset. Did not work out. Really, like, just the advertising of this book, it just seems like one of those like really fast-paced survival thrillers. Like Lisa Jewell on the cover says it feels like a blockbuster movie. Sherry Lapina says a nail-biter of a thriller. Lee Child said hypnotically good, should be a hit, might be a classic. Karen Slaughter said a propulsive read, hostage will have you questioning what would you do at every turn. And I just don't know where those opinions were coming from, but I disagree. I wasn't having fun with it. So that is all for Hostage, and yeah, it was unfortunate. So next up, my last chance of hope in this video is with the Thursday Murder Club. Okay, I'm 53 pages into the Thursday Murder Club, and we've reached the end of the video. I can't do it. I can't. I'm DNFing this too. I don't think this is bad. I'm just like not having a good time reading it, which is surprising. I really liked it in the very beginning. I really liked the voice. It's like quirky and witty. Concept of this one is that there's this group of elderly people in this senior living community who get together on Thursdays and they talk about murder, and then like a contractor associated with the company who helps like build the communities ends up murdered, and then they get involved in trying to solve that. Cute concept, fun concept, cute, quirky, witty little writing, but I'm not loving it. There's like a couple different things going on, because you get perspectives of like this woman's journal entries, which are my favorite part, and then you just get like third person descriptions of other things, and there's like a police officer, and there's this person, there's these contractors, there's like so many characters and so many things, and there's not like character headings going into these chapters. It's just like all flowing, and I don't know. It's just like, I'm not into it. I'm just not into it. And I think it's a me problem at this point, because I picked out the 3 highest rated mystery thrillers on my TBR, and 2 of them ended up being a DNF. That is insane. And I would say also that that's like a soft DNF potentially, maybe not forever, but also that's a book series. We know how I feel about series. I don't really read series anyway, and I just don't think it's gonna be for me. So this was a failure of a video. Sorry if I wasted your time. I considered not posting this, and I guess I still could not post it at this point, but I mean, if you're seeing this, then it got posted. But I'll try to make the title something so that you know what you're getting into. But it's just so funny, because this is going to be like advertised as something that you think would be great, and like, I'm going to find new favorites, the highest rated mystery thrillers on my TBR, and it's just like 1 book was fine and 2 books were DNFs for me. And usually I would just say like, I'm not gonna post this because 2 DNFs, like what's the point? It's kind of a bust of a video, but I'm kind of low on content lately, and if I don't post this, it's gonna be another week before you see a video from me at least. So this is what you get. Here you go. I'm sorry. I have not been having the best time with books lately. I've had some good reads this month so far, but I've also had a lot of DNFs, and I'm trying to just move on from the DNFs so that I can find more good reads instead of reading a lot of books and feeling subpar about them. So I don't know what I'm gonna do now, or what I'm gonna read next, or what content you'll see next from me. Maybe I should read the lowest rated books on my TBR, maybe that would help. Also, I will say I don't have that many books on my TBR right now. I have 20-ish books on my TBR. So the 3 highest rated mystery thrillers, you know, it's not like I had just 20 mystery thrillers or even more than that. Like, these are the highest rated, but it's a small sample size. So I would definitely be interested in doing more videos in the future like this, but doing like the most popular mystery thrillers, or like the highest rated of the year, or like Goodreads Choice Awards comes up. Like, I'm sure I'll do something else like this again that will go better. I think I'm in a little bit of a reading rut right now, and that's not fun. And when I'm in a reading rut, I try to not force myself through books so that it doesn't continue to get worse, because With these past two books, as I'm reading them, I just like don't even want to read. I don't want to pick books up. I'm not excited about anything on my shelves. And right now I'm just kind of like, ugh, what do I even do now? I don't know. But that's for me to figure out and for you to find out later when I get to my wrap up at the end of the month. Again, sorry this video wasn't the most fun, but some content is better than no content, right? Right. Before we go, let me know down in the comments below, what's a really good book you've read recently? Because I'm having some trouble and I want really, really good books in my life. So let me know what's something that you've really loved recently, and thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.